plunging $490 billion. Japan's supply cutback backfires severely. Why the suicidal sanctions? Can you believe it? A nation, in a bid to cooperate with an ally's strategy, has willingly severed its own economic jugular, causing its core industry to vaporize a staggering 490 billion Japanese yen in just 6 months. This sounds like the act of a madman, yet it is genuinely unfolding in our neighboring country, Japan. When Japan announced a supply cutoff of 23 types of key semiconductor manufacturing equipment to China, the entire world believed that China's chip industry was heading for its darkest hour. Some even predicted that China's chip development will be set back by at least 10 years. However, the plot twist is more absurd than a Hollywood blockbuster. Just as Japan was sharpening its tools, ready to choke China's development, the boomerang struck itself with uncanny precision. The logic behind this is outrageously simple. The global chip supply chain is a closed loop, not a one-way street. When you attempt to block the downstream outlet to the sea, the upstream reservoir will not dry up. Instead, the sharply rising water level will likely burst your own dam. Japan thought it held a life-ending sword, unaware it was gripping a burning piece of iron. But that is not the most ironic part. The more perception-shattering truth is that this extreme sanction, far from killing the competition, has unexpectedly activated the survival gene within China's domestic industrial chain. From lithography machines to biotechnology, an unprecedented storm of domestic substitution is sweeping across the nation. This is not just a war over chips, it is the ultimate game of survival and the right to development. Next, we will peel back the geopolitical fog and reveal the little-known, brutal truths within this contest. The $4.9 billion Pledge of Allegiance, a costly political flattery. Let's first look at a set of chilling figures. Following the Japanese government's order, giants like Nikon and Tokyo Electron, once dominant in the semiconductor equipment field, were forced to close the door to their largest market. The result? The karma came faster than a tornado. In just half a year, the size of Japan's semiconductor equipment market plummeted by 490 billion yen. Tokyo Electron, a globally renowned equipment manufacturer, immediately released a dismal financial report. Revenue tanked by 36.3%, with losses exceeding 250 billion yen. What does this mean? It's like owning a 5-star restaurant, and to curry favor with the burger joint owner next door, you kick out your biggest VIP client. This is beyond foolish. It is commercial suicide. Keep in mind that the Chinese market is not a dispensable dessert. It is the staple food upon which Japan's semiconductor industry depends for its survival. In 2021, Japan exported about $12 billion worth of equipment to mainland China, accounting for nearly 50% of its total exports. Smashing half your rice bowl at a moment's notice. Japanese politicians certainly have a peculiar logic. In contrast, across the Pacific, while the US is the instigator, its capitalists are far more honest. Famous US chip giants Nvidia and Intel, despite being constrained by government bans, have seen their CEOs frantically lobby in various settings, warning the US government that the American technology industry faces significant risk due to being unable to access the Chinese market. This is because they understand a fundamental truth. High-tech is a cash incinerator, and without a massive market to recoup funds, the research and development chain will break. Japan, on the other hand, is helping count the money after being sold out. This 490 billion yen is just the beginning. 2. Precedents of digging your own grave. The lessons from the West. Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger was blunt. Japan is digging its own grave. This is not an alarmist statement but an accurate prediction based on historical patterns. In this world, every attempt to stifle China's industries through blockade has ultimately become a catalyst for their rise. Look at the European example. Years ago, to limit China's development in satellite navigation, Europe repeatedly made things difficult for China during the Galileo project, even kicking China out of the core decision-making circle. The result? China was forced to grit its teeth and develop the Beidou system. Now, the Beidou satellite navigation system not only covers the globe, but its accuracy and stability surpass Galileo in some indicators. Europeans not only lost a huge partner but personally cultivated a powerful competitor. Then there's the lithography machine hegemon, ASML. Though a Dutch company, constrained by US technology, it had to restrict supply to China. However, ASML's former CEO, Peter Wennink, once publicly stated, "If you don't sell lithography machines to China, they will probably build them themselves in about 3 years." This is not blind praise but a deep understanding of China's complete industrial system and mobilization capability. When external pressure reaches a critical point, the internal explosive force is astonishing. Japan's current action is a reenactment of that historical script. They are personally forcing Chinese companies to fight back and build a semiconductor supply chain completely independent of the Western system. 3. The market is everything. Without China, there is no future. Why are Western giants like Intel and BASF still heavily investing in China while politicians clamor for decoupling? Data from the Rhodium Group shows that German chemical giant BASF is investing €10 billion to build an integrated factory in China, and Tesla's Gigafactory in Shanghai supports half of its global production capacity. The reason is simple: no Chinese orders means no economy of scale. Without the economy of scale, high-tech is a castle in the air. The semiconductor industry is extremely capital-intensive. Every advance in Moore's law requires hundreds of billions in R&D investment. Where does this money come from? Only from a vast consumer market. As the world's second-largest consumer market and the largest goods trading nation for 5 consecutive years, China is the only place globally that can digest such massive production capacity. Intel CEO frankly stated, "Without Chinese orders, there is no need to build factories in the US. Who will Japan sell its semiconductor equipment to after losing the Chinese market? To the US? The US is pursuing reindustrialization and wants to bring all supply chains back home. To Europe? The European market size simply cannot fill the gap left by China. Japanese companies are losing not just today's revenue but tomorrow's R&D budget. When your income drops by 36%, your R&D investment is bound to shrink, while your competitors, Chinese companies, backed by a massive market, are seeing exponential growth in revenue and R&D investment. With this widening gap, who will have the last laugh? The answer is obvious. 4. The dimensionality reduction of domestic substitution, a look at the chip future. Some argue that chips are the jewel of industry and not easily replaced. But let's broaden our view and see how China achieved a comeback in another high-tech barrier field, biotechnology. This offers an excellent reference for predicting the future of the chip industry. Once upon a time, technology for cardiovascular health maintenance in the elderly was entirely monopolized overseas. Related finished products from Japan and Europe cost thousands or even tens of thousands, leaving ordinary people only able to sigh. How similar this is to the current chip situation. If others hold the core technology, they hold the power to set the price. But how did Chinese companies respond? Just as we are doing in the semiconductor field, domestic companies chose not to lie flat but to actively attack, leveraging their powerful supply chain advantages. Take the biological product, Zheshengsen capsule, as an example. The domestic company, relying on its parent company's self-built, Shinlan Deep Blue ship, the world's largest Antarctic krill fishing and processing vessel, directly controlled the source of the raw materials, instantly breaking the foreign monopoly. The result is astounding. The domestic, Zheshengsen product went live on JD.com at a price less than 1/10 of comparable overseas products. This is not cutting corners. It is cost optimization achieved through control over the entire supply chain. More importantly, an increasing number of experiments confirm the efficacy of its core ingredients in alleviating sugar-lipid metabolism disorders and stabilizing blood pressure, published in top international journals like JAMA and Nature. This is the terrifying aspect of China's manufacturing. Once a technical barrier is broken, it can rapidly turn a luxury item into a universal commodity. Now, white-collar executives and retirees in first-tier cities on JD.com are frequently repurchasing it, reporting that they no longer feel palpitations or chest tightness. What does this illustrate? It proves that domestic substitution is not only feasible but also more competitive. The same logic is unfolding in the chip sector. While we are still tackling challenges like lithography machines, as soon as the gap is opened, Chinese companies will use their economies of scale and cost advantages to push those high-end mighty foreign equipment vendors off the altar. The 2025 prophecy. Who is swimming naked? In the short term, Japan's supply cutoff will indeed cause us some pain. After all, semiconductor manufacturing is not achieved overnight, and the lack of 23 key equipment types will slow down our advanced process R&D pace. However, if we look beyond the present and towards 2025 and even further, you will find that this is, in fact, a coming-of-age ceremony bestowed upon China's semiconductor industry by fate.